The October wind cut through Nashville like a blade nobody asked for. Cole Harrington pulled the collar of his denim jacket tighter against his neck as he walked the parking lot of the East Side Community Center. A battered guitar case in his right hand and a paper coffee cup, long gone cold, in his left. The sky above him was the color of old pewter, heavy and low. The kind of sky that made you feel like the world itself was pressing down on your shoulders. He was 40 minutes early. That was something, at least. The community center's parking lot was half filled with pickup trucks and beat-up sedans, volunteers carrying folding tables and sound equipment through the side entrance. A hand-painted banner above the main doors read, "Harmony Hills Benefit Concert. All proceeds to Franklin County Food Bank." The letters were slightly uneven, like whoever painted them had started confident and lost faith somewhere around the second word. Cole stopped walking and stared at the banner for a moment. Harmony Hills. He hadn't played this festival in 6 years. The last time he'd been here, he'd had a label contract in his back pocket, a brand new F-250 in the parking lot, and a wife named Diane who still looked at him like he was worth something. He'd played for 45 minutes, and the crowd had cheered loud enough to rattle the light fixtures inside the building. A lot could change in 6 years. He pushed through the side entrance. Inside, the main hall smelled like old wood, coffee, and the particular kind of nervous energy that preceded live music. Volunteers arranged chairs into neat rows. A sound technician crouched behind a mixing board, adjusting cables with the focused expression of a surgeon. Cole made his way toward the stage. A low platform, maybe 3 feet high, with 2 standing microphones and a drum kit already assembled at the back. Cole Harrington. He turned. A woman in her mid-50s with short silver hair and reading glasses, pushed up on her forehead, was walking toward him with a clipboard. Her name tag read, Donna Kellerman, Event Coordinator. "That's me," he said, shaking her hand. "You're our 7:15 slot," Donna said, scanning her clipboard. "3 songs, maybe 4 if we're running ahead of schedule. You know how these things go." She looked up at him over the rim of her glasses. "You okay? You look a little pale." "Long drive," Cole said. "Came down from Cookville this morning." "You still living up there?" He nodded. Living was generous. He was renting a room from his older brother, Danny, in a house that smelled permanently of motor oil and microwaved burritos. But it had a roof and a locking door. And that was more than he'd had 4 months ago when the bank had finalized the foreclosure on the house in Franklin that had once been his and Diane's. "You need anything before sound check?" Donna asked. "I'm good," he said. "Thank you." She gave him a look that was somewhere between pity and admiration. The look people gave you when they knew your story and didn't know what to do with it, and walked back toward the volunteers. Cole found an empty chair near the stage and sat down, resting the guitar case across his knees. He opened it slowly, almost ritually. Inside, cushioned by old foam and a threadbare piece of blue velvet, was a Martin D28 acoustic that he'd bought at 23 with money saved from 2 years of weekend gigs and a summer job roofing houses. The guitar was the one thing the lawyers hadn't touched. The one thing Diane hadn't fought him for. Maybe because she knew what it meant to him. Or maybe because she'd already taken everything that mattered more. He ran his thumb across the strings. The sound was low and warm and private, swallowed almost immediately by the noise of the hall. 3 songs, he thought. You can do 3 songs. Cole Harrington had not always been a man who needed to remind himself that he could do 3 songs. There had been a version of him, not so long ago, really, just 6 years back, who had been genuinely on the edge of something. His debut album, Red Dirt Road Home, had sold respectably for an independent release. A&R representatives from 2 Nashville labels had come to see him play. One of them, a sharp-eyed man named Brad Coulter from Meridian Records, had taken him to dinner at a steakhouse on Broadway and told him, over a $40 ribeye, that Cole Harrington had the real thing. Authenticity, he'd called it. The kind of voice that makes people feel like they're remembering something they never actually lived. Cole had signed with Meridian 8 months later. The contract was real, the advance was real, and for approximately 14 months, his life had felt like the first chapter of the story he'd always believed he was supposed to tell. Then came the second album, and the slow unraveling of everything. The label wanted more polish, less grit. They wanted songs that sounded like the radio, not like the red clay roads Cole had grown up driving on the outskirts of Lawrenceburg. He'd fought them on it, stubborn in the way that men who grew up poor and proud tend to be stubborn. Loudly, absolutely, and at significant personal cost. The album had been shelved. The contract had dissolved. And Cole, who had by then bought a house, taken on a mortgage he could barely afford on the strength of money he'd expected to keep earning, found himself staring at a financial hole that kept getting deeper, no matter how hard he worked to climb out of it. He played bar gigs. He played weddings. He drove 4 hours to play county fairs for $200 and a hot dog. He was good at all of it. He was always good. But good wasn't the same as sustainable, and the money was never quite enough, and the stress of it slowly poisoned everything around him the way rust poisons iron. Quietly, consistently, and without mercy. Diane had tried to hold it together longer than he probably deserved. She'd gone back to work full-time at the dental office where she'd worked before they'd gotten married, taking double shifts when she could, never complaining about it directly, but carrying the weight of it in the set of her jaw and the particular silence that fell over dinner tables when two people have too much to say and have stopped believing it's worth saying. Their daughter, Lily, 14 now, with Cole's dark eyes and Diane's stubbornness, had watched all of it with the quiet, observant intelligence of a child who has learned to read the emotional weather of a room the way other kids learn to read books. The divorce had been finalized in March. Lily lived primarily with Diane in Franklin, 50 miles south of Nashville, and came to stay with Cole every other weekend, which meant she came to stay with Cole and Danny in Danny's small, cluttered house, sleeping on a pull-out couch and pretending she didn't mind. Cole minded. He minded every single day. The sound check went smoothly. Cole ran through 2 songs, adjusted the monitor levels twice, and spoke as few words as necessary to the sound technician. A young guy, maybe 22, with elaborate tattoos on both forearms and the hyper-competent manner of someone who had learned his craft entirely through YouTube tutorials and sheer determination. "Sounds good," the technician said, pulling off his headphones. "You've got a real clean signal from that guitar." "She's a good guitar," Cole said. "Martin? D28. Had it since I was 23. The technician nodded with the respectful acknowledgement of someone who understood that some objects accumulate meaning beyond their monetary value. Cole stepped off the stage and found a seat near the back of the hall, which had begun filling up steadily. These were good people, Franklin County people, the kind who came out on a cold October Saturday to sit on folding chairs and eat potluck food and listen to music because they believed in the food bank and because they liked the idea of community more than most people liked the reality of it. He was checking his phone. A text from Danny asking if he wanted chili for dinner, and nothing from Diane. And a WhatsApp message from Lily that said simply, "Good luck, Dad," with a small guitar emoji. When he heard the room change. Not a sound, exactly. More like a shift in pressure. The way a room feels when someone walks into it, who changes the gravitational center of the space. Cole looked up. George Strait had just walked in through the side entrance. He was taller than Cole expected, or maybe it was just the way he carried himself. Straight-backed and unhurried, with the particular ease of a man who has been the most important person in every room he's entered for 40 years, and learned somewhere along the way that there's no need to perform it. He wore a plain dark jacket and a cream-colored Stetson, and he was accompanied by two men who were clearly security, but dressed casually enough to avoid making a scene. The room responded the way rooms respond to George Strait. A collective intake of breath, a ripple of turned heads. Whispered names passed from person to person like a benign contagion. Cole stared. He knew Strait had a connection to charitable events in Tennessee. He'd read something about it once, a profile in a country music magazine that mentioned his long history of quiet philanthropy. But knowing it abstractly and seeing the man walk into the same room where you were about to play 3 songs for a food bank were two entirely different categories of experience. Donna Kellerman materialized beside Strait with the speed and precision of a woman who had been waiting for exactly this moment. She shook his hand warmly, and Strait smiled. The same smile Cole had seen on album covers and television screens for 20 years, easy and genuine and without a trace of performance in it. Cole looked back down at his phone. "Good luck, Dad." He typed back, "Thank you, baby. I love you." Then he put the phone in his jacket pocket and watched the room fill up around George Strait and told himself to focus. The evening moved the way these evenings move, in a warm, slightly chaotic rhythm of performances and applause and the smell of homemade food from the tables along the back wall. A teenage girl played a fiddle with breathtaking precision. A local bluegrass quartet played 3 songs that made an elderly man in the front row close his eyes and smile. A retired schoolteacher named Walt Bridges sang a song he'd written himself about his late wife. And the room went very quiet, in the way rooms go quiet when something true is being said. Cole sat through all of it with the guitar case across his knees, watching and listening and feeling, as he often felt before he played, the specific anxiety of a man who is about to ask strangers to receive something that matters deeply to him and has no guarantee they will. At 7:10, Donna appeared at his elbow. "You're up in 5, she said. "You good?" "I'm good," Cole said, and stood up. He walked to the stage, stepped up onto the platform, adjusted the microphone to his height, and looked out at the audience. 300 people, maybe a few more. Folding chairs, paper plates, plastic cups of sweet tea and lemonade. George Strait was seated at a table near the right wall, talking quietly with someone Cole didn't recognize. Cole settled the guitar strap over his shoulder. He cleared his throat once, quietly, into the space between himself and the microphone. "Good evening," he said. His voice came out steady. "My name is Cole Harrington. I'm from Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, and I've been playing music since I was 11 years old, which is..." He paused, doing the math with a small, self-deprecating smile. "Longer than most of you have been driving." A few laughs from the crowd. "I want to play you 3 songs tonight. The first one I wrote about my daughter. The second one I wrote about my hometown. And the third one..." He stopped. He looked down at the guitar for a moment, then back up. "The third one I wrote 6 months ago, sitting on my brother's porch in Cookville at 2 in the morning, trying to figure out if I still had anything worth saying. I think I did. You can tell me if I'm wrong." He hit the first chord. Cole Harrington did not play a perfect set that night. His voice cracked slightly on the high note in the bridge of the second song, a thing he'd been fighting for months. The consequence of too many late nights and not enough water and the particular kind of stress that lives in your throat and chest and refuses to vacate. He played through it without stopping, the way you do when you've played enough shows to know that stopping is always worse than the mistake. But the third song was something else. He'd written it in the dark, half drunk on cheap bourbon, and fully drunk on exhaustion, and the particular clarity that comes when you've stopped trying to protect yourself from the truth. It was called Still Here, and it was about exactly what the title said. The plain, stubborn, slightly desperate fact of still being present in a life that had largely not cooperated with your plans for it. It was the most honest thing he'd ever written, and he played it that night like a man who had nothing left to hide behind, his voice low and direct and completely unpolished, every word landing exactly where it was supposed to land. The room was silent when he finished. Not the silence of discomfort, the silence of people who have just received something and haven't yet decided what to do with it. Then the applause came, real and warm and sustained, the kind that starts from the gut rather than the hands. And Cole stood at the microphone and nodded once and said, "Thank you," in a voice that came out quieter than he intended. He stepped off the stage, and George Strait was standing 5 feet away, looking directly at him. "That last song," Strait said. Cole stopped walking. His heart was doing something he preferred not to examine too closely. "Yes, sir," he managed. "You write that yourself?" "Yes, sir." Every word. Strait was quiet for a moment, the way a man is quiet when he is actually thinking rather than performing the act of thinking. He had dark, direct eyes and the face of someone who had spent a great deal of time outdoors and in honest conversation. "What's your situation?" Strait asked. Not unkindly, simply directly, in the manner of a man who valued time and had learned that the fastest way between 2 points was a straight line. Cole considered lying or softening it. He was too tired for either. "Not great," he said. "Had a label deal that fell apart. Went through a divorce. Lost the house. Playing wherever they'll have me and trying to figure out what's next." Strait nodded slowly. "How old are you?" 38. "I was 30 when foolhardy memory hit," Strait said. "People forget that." He paused. "You've got something real in that voice, son. The kind of thing that can't be taught and can't be manufactured. You know that?" Cole swallowed. "I've had people say something like that before. And then what happened? And then the industry happened." Strait almost smiled. "Yeah." He reached into his jacket pocket and produced a plain white business card, which he held out to Cole. "His name is Ray Whitfield. He runs an independent production operation out of East Nashville. Small, serious, and he doesn't take projects unless he believes in them. Tell him I sent you. He'll take the call." Cole took the card. He looked at it. It had a name, a phone number, and nothing else. "Mr. Strait," Cole said. I appreciate this more than I can." "Don't thank me yet," Strait said, with a tone that was not unkind but was entirely clear. "Making the call is the easy part. Everything after that is up to you." He looked at Cole for one more moment, with those steady, direct eyes. "Don't waste it." Then he turned and walked back toward his table. And Cole stood in the middle of the community center's main hall, holding a small white card, and feeling, for the first time in a very long time, something that he was almost afraid to name. It felt, distantly and dangerously, like hope. He drove back to Cookeville that night with the card in his shirt pocket, pressed flat against his chest. The highway was dark and mostly empty, the headlights of his 12-year-old Chevy Silverado cutting a pale tunnel through the October darkness. The radio was off. He drove in silence, listening to the engine and the wind and the particular quality of quiet that follows a significant event. The quiet of a man replaying something over and over in his mind, checking it from different angles, trying to determine whether it was as real as it felt. By the time he pulled into Danny's driveway at 11:45, he had made a decision. Tomorrow morning, he would call Ray Whitfield. He didn't know what would come next. He didn't know if Whitfield would take the meeting, or if the meeting would lead anywhere, or if anywhere was a place that still had room for Cole Harrington and his Martin D-28, and his 2 in the morning songs about still being here. But he was going to make the call. He sat in the truck for a long moment after cutting the engine, looking at the house. Light on in the kitchen. Danny probably still up watching college football. And then he reached into his pocket and took out his phone and opened Lily's message again. "Good luck, Dad," he typed back, though it was nearly midnight, and she was certainly asleep. "Had a really good night, baby. Something happened. Tell you about it this weekend. Love you more than anything." He got out of the truck. The October wind had followed him all the way from Nashville. He walked to the front door and went inside. Ray Whitfield did not answer on the first call. Cole had expected this. Had, in fact, spent 20 minutes standing in Danny's kitchen on Sunday morning rehearsing what he was going to say to the voicemail, choosing words with the careful deliberation of a man who understood that first impressions are currency and that he was currently operating at a significant deficit. He left a message that was 40 seconds long. His name, the fact that George Strait had given him this number, and the request for a conversation at Whitfield's convenience. He hung up and poured himself more coffee, and waited. Whitfield called back at 2:17 that afternoon. "Cole Harrington," Whitfield said by way of greeting. His voice was unhurried, slightly gravelly. The voice of a man who had smoked for 10 years and quit 15 years ago and still carried the evidence. "George texted me about you last night." Cole nearly dropped his coffee mug. "He did?" he said, working hard to keep his voice level. "Said you played something that stuck with him. That doesn't happen often." A pause. "I've been doing this 22 years, Mr. Harrington. George Strait has sent me 3 people in that time. I signed 2 of them. One of them you've heard of." Cole's fingers tightened on the phone. "I'd like to hear what you've got," Whitfield continued. "Come into the studio. Bring your guitar and your best 3 songs. Not covers, originals. I need to hear what you write, not what you can reproduce." "When?" Cole asked. "Thursday works for me, 10 a.m. "I'll be there," Cole said. "Don't be late," Whitfield said. "I'm punctual to the point of inconvenience." He gave Cole the address and hung up. Cole set the phone on the kitchen counter and stood very still for a moment. Danny walked in from the living room in a tightened sweatshirt and socks, holding an empty cereal bowl. He looked at Cole's expression and stopped walking. "What happened?" Danny said. "I've got a meeting with a producer in Nashville on Thursday," Cole said. Danny set the cereal bowl on the counter. He was 43, 2 years older than Cole, with a thick, dark beard and the broad, practical hands of a man who had spent his adult life working with them. He was the kind of man who did not express emotion easily or often, having grown up in the same house as Cole, under the same father, where emotions were treated with the vague suspicion reserved for things of uncertain utility. "A real producer?" Danny said. "An independent," Cole said. "Name's Ray Whitfield. George Strait referred me directly." Danny was quiet for a moment. "George Strait," he repeated. "George Strait." Another silence. Then Danny picked up his cereal bowl, walked to the sink, rinsed it, and set it in the drying rack. He turned around. "I'll drive you," he said. "The Silverado's been pulling left. Don't want you breaking down on I-40. Cole looked at his brother. Danny was already looking somewhere past him, out the window above the sink, in the way he looked when he felt something strongly and refused to make eye contact about it. "Thank you, Danny," Cole said. "Don't thank me," Danny said. "Just don't blow it." Tuesday, Cole called Diane. He had been putting it off, which was, he knew, characteristic of the man he was trying not to be anymore. He and Diane had reached a functional, carefully negotiated detente in the months since the divorce. They communicated about Lily, primarily by text, in exchanges that were civil and efficient, and entirely devoid of anything that wasn't strictly necessary. It was the emotional equivalent of 2 countries that had once been at war trading agricultural goods across a heavily monitored border. He called her because Lily was supposed to spend that coming weekend with him, their regular every other weekend arrangement. And he needed to know if that was still happening, because if the Thursday meeting went well and led quickly to a follow-up, he would need to plan around it. Diane picked up on the third ring. "Cole." Her voice was neutral, not unfriendly, not warm. The voice of a woman who had learned to present a carefully managed surface. "Hey, Diane. I just wanted to confirm about Lily this weekend. She's still coming up Friday?" A brief pause. "Actually, I wanted to talk to you about that." Something in Cole's chest tightened. "Okay," he said carefully. "Lily has a school project that she's working on with a group. They're doing most of the work this weekend. Saturday, specifically. She asked me if she could skip this week's visit and make it up the following weekend." Cole was quiet. "Cole, is that what she wants?" he said. "Or is that what you told her would be easier?" The silence that followed was the kind that contained a complete argument compressed into a few seconds. "That's not fair," Diane said, her voice dropping slightly in temperature. "I haven't seen her in 2 weeks," Cole said. "I know she has the project. She texted me about it. She could bring her group up here to work on it. Danny's got the space, or she could come up Saturday evening after they're done." "Cole, Cookville isn't exactly convenient for a group of 14-year-olds. I know Cookville isn't convenient. I know the pull-out couch isn't ideal. I know none of this is what any of us wanted." He paused, pressing his palm flat against the kitchen counter, focusing on the cool solidity of it. "I just want to see my daughter." Another pause, longer this time. "I'll talk to her," Diane said quietly. "If she wants to come Saturday evening, she can. Thank you." "How are things otherwise?" Diane asked. The question came out slightly halting, like she'd debated whether to ask it. "Something came up," Cole said. "Could be something real. I'll know more by the end of the week." "Music?" "Music." A moment of silence that had a different texture than the others. Something older in it. Something that remembered a time when news like this would have been shared over coffee at a kitchen table they both sat at every morning. "Good luck," Diane said. And she meant it. Cole could tell she meant it, which was its own particular kind of complicated. "Thanks," he said. "Kiss Lily for me." He hung up and sat at the kitchen table for a long time without moving. Thursday arrived with clear skies and cold air, the kind of Nashville morning that smelled like wood smoke and turned leaves, and the specific possibility of beginning. Danny drove. He was quiet on I-40, the way he was quiet in the early morning, and Cole was grateful for it. Cole rode with the guitar case in the back seat, and Ray Whitfield's address in his phone's GPS, and 3 songs arranged in his head in order of strength, the way a poker player arranges their hand. Ray Whitfield's studio was in a converted house on Fatherland Street in East Nashville, a neighborhood that had been working class and is now something more complicated, full of craft coffee shops and old brick buildings, and the particular creative energy of a place that is in the process of becoming something it hasn't quite decided on yet. The studio's exterior was unremarkable. Gray painted wood, a small sign beside the door that said Whitfield Audio in plain black letters, no logo, no flourish. Cole knocked at 9:58. The door opened at 10 exactly. Ray Whitfield was 61 years old, compact and watchful, with close-cropped gray hair and rectangular wire-rimmed glasses, and the bearing of a man who had made a great many decisions and stood behind all of them. He wore dark jeans and a plain flannel shirt, and he shook Cole's hand with a grip that was firm and mercifully brief. "Right on time," Whitfield said. "Come in." The studio's interior was a different world from its exterior. Warm and precisely organized, with the particular acoustic stillness of a space that has been engineered for listening. The main tracking room held a baby grand piano, a drum kit draped with sound blankets, and a collection of amplifiers arranged along the far wall. The control room was visible through a large window, banks of equipment glowing softly. Whitfield led Cole to a chair in the tracking room, a simple wooden chair positioned in front of a single microphone, and sat down on a stool 6 feet away. He crossed his arms in the manner of a man who was comfortable waiting. "Play me your best song first," Whitfield said. "Don't warm up, don't explain it, just play it." Cole sat down, settled the guitar across his knee, and played "Still Here." He played it the same way he had at Harmony Hills. Raw and direct, every word placed with intention, his voice finding the lower register that it had been finding naturally for the past few years, worn smooth by time and use. He did not look at Whitfield. He looked at a point on the wall above the control room window and played. When he finished, Whitfield uncrossed his arms. "Play the second one," he said. Cole played Lawrenceburg, 1998, the song about his hometown, about a specific summer when he was 11 and his father was still alive, and the county fair felt like the center of the universe. It was quieter than the first song, built on a finger-picking pattern that he'd spent 6 months perfecting. "Third," Whitfield said. Cole played Lily's Eyes, the song he'd written for his daughter, the one that always made his chest hurt, the one he'd never played publicly because it felt too private, and because he'd been afraid, for reasons he didn't fully understand, that playing it publicly would somehow diminish it. When he finished the third song, the tracking room was very quiet. Whitfield took off his glasses, cleaned them with the hem of his flannel shirt, put them back on. "How many songs have you written?" he said. "Originals? Probably around 80. 40 or so that I'm satisfied with. And you've been sitting on them? More or less. Why?" Cole considered the question, not because he didn't know the answer, but because he was deciding how honest to be with a man he'd known for 45 minutes. He decided that given what had brought him here, there was no version of this that worked if he started managing the truth now. "Because after the label deal fell apart, I stopped believing anyone wanted to hear them," he said. "And because I've spent the last 3 years just trying to keep the lights on, which doesn't leave a lot of room for believing in things." Whitfield looked at him steadily. "You know what I hear in those 3 songs?" he said. "Tell me." "I hear someone who has been through the actual thing, not the idea of hardship, the actual, specific, particular experience of watching something you built fall apart, and being present for every second of it, and surviving it anyway." He paused. "That's the rarest thing in this business. Everybody wants to sound authentic. Almost nobody actually is. You are." Cole held the man's gaze and said nothing. "I'm not going to offer you a contract today," Whitfield said. "That's not how I work. What I'm going to offer you is this. I want you to come back in 2 weeks with 5 more songs, your strongest material. I'll have my engineer here, and we'll do a proper session. If what I hear confirms what I heard today, we'll talk about what a working relationship looks like. And if it doesn't confirm it," Whitfield almost smiled, "then I'll tell you honestly, and we'll both have saved some time." Cole nodded. "Fair enough. One question," Whitfield said, and there was a directness in his voice that sharpened the air between them. "Are you stable enough to do this right now? Because I need someone who's going to show up consistently, who isn't going to disappear for 2 weeks because something fell apart at home. I need to know your situation is manageable enough that this is possible." Cole thought about the rented room, about Danny's couch and Danny's chili, and Danny's quiet, loyal, oil-stained presence, about Lily on the pull-out couch pretending the situation was fine, about Diane's careful, managed voice on the phone. "I'm not stable in the way I'd like to be," he said, "but I'm functional, and I'm not going anywhere." Whitfield studied him for a moment. "Good enough," he said. 2 weeks. Cole walked out of the studio at 11:43 and stood on Fatherland Street in the East Nashville sunlight and felt the particular specific quality of a good thing happening to him. Something he had not felt in long enough that he'd had to search briefly to identify it. Danny was parked half a block down, leaning against the truck, drinking a gas station coffee. Cole walked toward him. Danny watched him come and read his expression, and said nothing until Cole was standing in front of him. "Well," Danny said. "He wants me back in 2 weeks," Cole said. "Full session." Danny drank his coffee. He looked out at the street, at the old brick buildings and the yellow leaves on the sidewalk. "You're going to need to practice," he said. "I know. Every day." "I know, Danny. I'll get earplugs." Cole laughed. A real laugh, short and genuine, the kind that surprised him. Danny drank his coffee and didn't smile, but was smiling in the way that men who grew up the way they grew up sometimes smile, from the inside only, where it was safe. "Let's get breakfast," Danny said. "You look like you haven't eaten today." "I haven't." "Thought so. There's a place on Gallatin that does biscuits." He pushed off the truck and walked toward the driver's side. "Get in." Lily arrived Saturday evening at 6:30, delivered by Diane's gray Honda Accord, which pulled into Danny's driveway and idled for a moment before Lily climbed out with her backpack and a small overnight bag. She was 14, nearly 15, with dark hair pulled into a bun and wearing an oversized hoodie with the name of her school printed across the front. She had Cole's jawline and Diane's eyes, and the particular expression of teenagers who feel more than they let on and have developed elaborate systems for concealing it. She hugged Cole on the driveway, brief and genuine, then pulled back and looked at him with those Diane eyes. "You look better than last time," she said. "Thank you," he said. "I think. Is Uncle Danny making chili?" "He made chili 3 days ago. Tonight, he's making what he calls chili adjacent." Lily considered this. "Is that just chili with fewer beans?" "Apparently, it has pasta in it now." "That's just a pasta bake." "Don't tell him that." She almost smiled. The Lily almost smile. The one that was trying not to be a full smile, because full smiles felt like too much of a concession, and walked past him toward the front door. Cole turned back to the driveway. Diane's Accord was still idling. The passenger window came down. "She seemed in better spirits," Diane said through the window. On the drive up. "Good," Cole said. A pause. Diane was looking through the windshield, not at him. "She worries about you," she said. "She doesn't say it to me, but I can tell." "I know. The thing you mentioned, the music thing. Did it go well?" "Yeah," Cole said. "It went well." Diane was quiet for a moment, then, "I'm glad, Cole. I mean that." He believed her. It was easier to believe her than it used to be, now that the pressure of the marriage was no longer between them. "I know you do," he said. "Thank you." The window went up. The Accord backed out of the driveway and moved down the street and turned the corner and was gone. Cole stood in the cold driveway for a moment, hands in his pockets, looking at the empty street. Then he went inside. That night, after dinner, Danny's pasta bake, which was actually good, served in deep bowls with thick slices of white bread, Cole sat on the back porch with his guitar while Danny and Lily watched television inside. The night was cold and clear, stars visible through the branches of the oak tree in the backyard. The distant sound of a dog barking 3 houses down. He played through his material, slowly and deliberately, building the set for the 2-week session the way a contractor builds a foundation. One solid piece at a time. No shortcuts. After an hour, he heard the back door open. Lily came out in her hoodie and socks, carrying 2 mugs. She handed him one, hot chocolate from the instant packets Danny kept in the cabinet, and sat down in the other porch chair, pulling her knees up to her chest. "What are you working on?" she said. "A session," he said, "in Nashville, 2 weeks." "With who?" "A producer named Ray Whitfield. He works with independent artists. It's a small operation, but it's serious." Lily wrapped both hands around her mug. "How did you get the meeting?" Cole told her. He told her about Harmony Hills, and about playing Still Here, and about the conversation with George Strait in the main hall of the community center. He told it simply and without embellishment, the way things that actually happened can afford to be told because they don't need decoration. Lily listened without interrupting, which was one of her best qualities. She had inherited from somewhere, possibly from neither of them specifically, the ability to be genuinely still while another person spoke. When he finished, she was quiet for a moment. "George Strait," she said finally. "The George Strait." "There's only one," Cole said. "He just gave you a card. Just gave me a card." She thought about this. "Because of Still Here?" That's what he said. Lily looked at her hot chocolate mug. She was quiet for long enough that Cole thought she was done speaking. "That's the song you played me 6 months ago," she said. "On the back porch, when I came up in April, before school ended." "Yeah, I cried," she said matter-of-factly. "I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to feel bad, but I cried." Cole looked at his daughter. "Why didn't you want me to feel bad?" She shrugged with the practiced casualness of a teenager negotiating feelings. "Because you write songs about being sad, and then you look relieved afterward, like you got the sad out. And I didn't want you to think the song made me sad, because that's not..." She paused, sorting through words. "It made me feel like you were going to be okay. That's different." Cole set the guitar down on the porch boards beside his chair. "You're pretty remarkable, you know that?" he said. Lily sipped her hot chocolate and looked at the stars and said, with studied nonchalance, "I know." The following Monday, everything that could go sideways began to go sideways. It started with a letter. Cole found it in Danny's mailbox on Monday morning, a standard envelope with the return address of the family court in Williamson County, forwarded from his old Franklin address. He stood at the mailbox in the cold morning, still in the flannel shirt he'd slept in, and read it. Diane was filing for a modification of the existing custody arrangement. She was not trying to eliminate his custody. That much was clear from the legal language, which Cole read 3 times with the particular focused attention of a man trying to find the edges of something bad. She was requesting a reduction, a shift from the current alternating weekends to a schedule that would give Lily more stability in her primary residence and educational environment. The filing cited several factors: Cole's current housing situation, a rented room in his brother's house, his inconsistent income over the preceding 12 months, the distance between his current residence and Lily's school in Franklin. All of it was technically accurate. That was the worst part. He went inside and sat at the kitchen table and called his divorce attorney, a woman named Patricia Oakes in Nashville, who answered on the second ring and listened to him describe the filing in a voice that was calmer than he felt. "She's filed for a formal modification," Patricia said. "That triggers a hearing. The court will assess current circumstances and determine whether modification is in the child's best interest." "When is the hearing?" "Given the current docket, probably 6 to 8 weeks." 6 to 8 weeks, Cole repeated. "In the meantime, the existing arrangement remains in place. She can't unilaterally change the schedule without court approval. Can she win this?" A brief pause. "Based on what you've described, unstable housing, inconsistent income, she has a legitimate case, Cole. A judge will look at the current circumstances of both parties and make a determination about what's best for Lily. So what do I do? You demonstrate stability, Patricia said. Any improvements to your housing, your income, your professional situation, document everything. The hearing is 6 to 8 weeks away. A lot can change in 6 to 8 weeks. Cole hung up the phone and sat at the kitchen table for a very long time. He did not call Diane that day. He thought about it, turned it over. Imagined the conversation. Diane's neutral, managed voice, the word stability used precisely and without apology, and decided that there was nothing to be gained from the conversation right now that couldn't be handled through the attorneys. What he did instead was go to the back porch with his guitar and work. He worked for 4 hours straight, running songs, sharpening arrangements, finding the specific emotional truth of each piece, and learning to locate it reliably. The way you learn to find a light switch in a dark room until you can do it without thinking. He was playing for the session with Whitfield in less than 2 weeks, and the session was, he now understood with a clarity that had a slightly desperate edge to it. Not just about his music career. It was about everything else. A legitimate, documented recording contract, even an independent one, would be income. Stable, verifiable income. It would be an address. His own address, eventually, because a contract would mean money. And money would mean being able to rent an apartment in Nashville or Brentwood, somewhere close enough to Franklin to make the custody arrangement workable. It would be evidence, in the specific legal sense that word carried, that Cole Harrington was not the man the filing described. Financially adrift, residentially unstable, professionally uncertain. He had 12 days. On Wednesday, he got a call from a number he didn't recognize. He almost didn't answer. But something, the particular timing of it, the fact that it was a Nashville area code, made him pick up. Is this Cole Harrington? A man's voice, young, professional. It is, Cole said. My name is Jeff Calloway. I'm the talent coordinator for the Ryman Auditorium. We're putting together a showcase in 3 weeks. Independent country artists, mix of established and emerging voices. We had a cancellation this morning, and your name came up through a referral. Cole stood up from the porch chair. A referral from who? Ray Whitfield, actually. He called us this morning, mentioned he had someone he was working with that would be a strong fit. Ray Whitfield had called in a referral before the session had even happened. The showcase is November 2nd, Calloway continued. Saturday evening, we'd need a 30-minute set, 5 to 7 songs, original material only. We can offer a performance fee of $800 and a 50-50 merchandise split for the evening. Cole did the math, not just the money, but what it meant. The Ryman Auditorium, a documented performance at the Ryman. His name on a legitimate booking at the most storied venue in country music. I'm in, he said. Excellent. I'll send the contract to your email. Mr. Calloway, how did Ray Whitfield know I was ready for the Ryman? We haven't even done the session yet. A brief pause. He said, and I'm quoting here, "Trust me on this one." Cole called Whitfield immediately after hanging up. You called the Ryman, Cole said. I called Jeff Calloway, Whitfield said. Who books the Ryman? Yes. Before we've even done the session. The session is a formality at this point, Whitfield said, in the tone of a man for whom this was self-evident. I heard what I needed to hear Thursday. I just want to record it properly before we move forward. Cole leaned against the porch railing. The afternoon light was low and golden, cutting sideways through the oak tree. Why are you doing this? He said. A pause on Whitfield's end. Because George Strait doesn't text me at 11 at night for nothing, Whitfield said. And because I've spent 22 years waiting for voices like yours, and passing on people who were close, but not quite. You're not close. You're there. And I'm not in the habit of watching something real walk out the door because I moved too cautiously. Cole was quiet. Thursday, Whitfield said. 2 weeks. Don't be late. I won't be. Practice every day. I am. Good, Whitfield said, and hung up. On Friday, he drove to Franklin. Not for custody reasons, not for a lawyer meeting. He drove to Franklin because Lily had a school performance. A fall concert, her school's choir. She'd mentioned it the previous weekend with studied casualness, the Lily way of mentioning things she cared about. And Cole had written the date on the back of his hand and not washed it for 2 days until he'd entered it into his phone. He sat in the school auditorium, a low-ceilinged room with fluorescent lighting and folding chairs, among parents he didn't know, holding a program printed on yellow paper. He found Diane in the crowd before she found him, sitting 4 rows ahead of him and to the left, her dark hair shorter than it had been last year. She was sitting next to a man Cole didn't recognize, mid-40s, clean-cut, polo shirt. They were not touching. They were sitting in the slightly formal proximity of 2 people who are not quite comfortable yet. Cole looked at them for a moment, then looked back at the stage. The choir filed out. Lily was in the second row, wearing the white shirt and black pants the program specified, her hair down, looking straight ahead, with the focused expression she wore when she was doing something that mattered to her and refused to show it. She hadn't seen him yet. When she did, when the choir had arranged itself and the teacher had raised her hands, and Lily's eyes swept the audience in the automatic inventory people make before performing, her expression shifted, just briefly. A flicker of something that on someone with more elastic features might have been a grin. Cole gave her the smallest possible nod. She looked back at the conductor. The choir sang 6 pieces. Lily's voice was somewhere in the middle of the second soprano section. He couldn't isolate it specifically, but he could feel the direction of it, the way you can feel a familiar frequency in a chord. After the concert, in the hallway outside, amid the gentle chaos of parents and students, Lily found him first. She walked up to him and said, without preamble, "You came." "Of course I came," he said. Something in her face, the thing she spent a great deal of energy maintaining, the cool, composed, it's fine dad surface, shifted briefly. "I didn't know if you'd make the drive," she said. "It's 50 miles, Lily." "I know, but..." She stopped. "Nothing is 50 miles away when it's you," Cole said. She looked at him for a moment, and the composed surface held, but behind her eyes, something was doing something it didn't usually do in public. "Mom brought someone," she said. "I saw. His name is Kevin. He's an orthodontist." "Is he nice?" He uses the word super as a general intensifier, like super good or super interesting. "That's not a deal breaker." "It's not a deal breaker," she agreed. "It's just a lot of supers." Cole almost laughed. He put his arm around her shoulders and she let him. And they stood in the hallway of the Franklin Middle School together. And for a moment, the custody filing and the housing situation and the 12 days until the session and everything else receded to the distance where it lived most of the time. Present, but manageable. Like weather. He drove back to Cookville that night in the dark. He was passing through Lebanon, 30 miles east of Nashville, when his phone lit up on the passenger seat. He glanced at it at a red light. It was a text from Diane. "I saw you there. Thank you for coming." It meant a lot to her, even if she won't say that. He read it twice. Then the light changed and he drove. 10 days before the session, Cole woke up at 3 in the morning with a problem. Not a logistical problem, something worse, a creative one. He had his 5 songs for the session. They were strong. He knew they were strong with the particular certainty that comes not from confidence but from the simpler, more reliable thing of having spent enough time with material to know its actual value. But lying awake in the dark of Danny's spare room, he became suddenly and absolutely convinced that the fifth song, a piece he'd written 2 years ago, about the specific quality of early mornings in Lawrenceburg before his father had died, was wrong for the session. Not wrong in quality, wrong in fit. He lay in the dark and thought about it, the way you think about things at 3 in the morning when there's no noise to interfere with the thinking. And the more he thought about it, the more certain he became. The session needed 5 songs that formed a coherent emotional arc. And Song 5, good as it was, broke the arc. It was about memory. The rest of the set was about now. Memory and now were different registers, and putting them in the same room without intention created a dissonance that Whitfield, with 22 years of ears, would certainly hear. He needed a new 5th song in 10 days. He got up at 3:15 in the morning, went to the kitchen in socks and a t-shirt, made coffee, and started writing. He wrote through the night and into the early morning, working at the kitchen table with the guitar on his lap and a legal pad beside him, filling pages with lines that were mostly wrong and occasionally right, and once, at around 5:45, as the first gray light came through the kitchen window, completely exactly right. He read the line back to himself twice and then wrote around it, before and after. And by 6:30, he had a rough structure that he could feel was what he'd been looking for. Danny came into the kitchen at 7 in his work clothes. He was a mechanic at an auto shop 6 miles from the house, and stopped at the sight of Cole at the table surrounded by crumpled legal pad pages. "Did you sleep?" Danny said. "A little," Cole said. "I think I found the 5th song." Danny poured himself coffee and looked at the pages without touching them. "What's it about?" Cole thought about it. "Starting over," he said. "But the real version, not the easy version where you're certain you're going to be okay. The version where you're not sure yet, and you do it anyway." Danny drank his coffee. "Sounds right," he said, and went to work. The session was on a Thursday. Cole and Danny left Cookville at 7:30. The sky was the pale clear blue of deep autumn. The trees along I-40 stripped to their framework, the highway cutting through the hills with the particular efficiency of infrastructure that does not concern itself with scenery. Danny drove. Cole rode with the guitar case across his knees, which was not ergonomically correct and would eventually cramp his legs, but which felt like the right way to travel with the guitar today. They arrived on Fatherland Street at 9:40. Cole got out of the truck. "I'll find somewhere to park and wait," Danny said. "You don't have to wait. This could be several hours." "I'll find somewhere to park and wait," Danny repeated, with the absolute finality he reserved for decisions he'd already made. Cole walked up the steps of Whitfield Audio. The session ran for 4.5 hours. Whitfield's engineer was a man named Pete Solano, 40, precise, with the focused quietude of someone for whom the technical and the emotional were not separate categories, but the same thing expressed in different vocabularies. He mic'd the Martin D28 with the care of a jeweler setting a stone, adjusting the position 3 times before nodding to himself with quiet satisfaction. Cole played. He played Still Here first, as he had in the audition. It was different in the studio. The room was more intimate, the acoustic treatment tighter, the sound of the guitar closer to his ear. He played it cleanly the first time through. Whitfield, in the control room, said through the talkback, "Good. Now play it like nobody's listening." Cole played it again. The second take was different from the first, in a way that would be very difficult to quantify, but was immediately apparent to everyone in the building. "That's the one," Solano said. They worked through the songs in order, each one receiving between 2 and 5 takes, Whitfield's guidance spare and precise. Less control in the third verse. Find the anger under that line. The chorus needs to breathe more. Slow the approach. He was, Cole recognized, an exceptional listener. Someone who heard not just what was being played, but what was trying to be played. The gap between intention and execution, and knew how to close it. The fifth song, the new one, the one Cole had written at 3 in the morning, they saved for last. Cole had told Whitfield about it when he arrived, mentioned that he'd replaced one of the original 5 with new material. Whitfield had said nothing, simply noted it. Now, as Cole settled for the final song, he felt the particular specific nervousness of something untested. The song was 10 days old, its edges not yet worn smooth by repeated performance. And there was always the possibility that what felt right at 5:45 in the morning in a kitchen in Cookville might not translate under proper studio conditions. He played it anyway. He played it the way he'd written it, without the protection of polish, without the armor of familiarity. And the song did what good songs do when they are genuinely new. It surprised him. Lines he thought he knew turned out to hold more weight than he'd measured at the kitchen table. The chorus, which he'd been uncertain about, opened up in the room in a way it hadn't opened on the back porch. When he finished, the control room was silent for a moment. Then Whitfield's voice came through the talkback. "Play it again." Cole played it again. "One more time," Whitfield said. Cole played it a third time. By the third take, the song had settled into itself the way songs do when they find their true tempo. Not the tempo you write them at, but the one they actually live in. Whitfield came out of the control room. He stood in the tracking room doorway and looked at Cole for a long moment. "When did you write that?" he said. 10 days ago, Cole said. 3 in the morning. Whitfield nodded slowly, as if this confirmed something he'd already suspected. "What's it called?" "Anyway," Cole said. "That's the title, just the one word." Whitfield looked at him over his wire-rimmed glasses with an expression that was as close to open admiration as a man of his particular restraint was likely to produce. "Pete," he said, without looking away from Cole. "How are the tracks?" Solano's voice came from inside the control room. "Clean. All of them. The fifth one especially. Third take is extraordinary." Whitfield extended his hand. "Let's talk about a contract," he said. Cole shook the hand of Ray Whitfield at 2:17 in the afternoon on a Thursday in November, in a converted house on Fatherland Street in East Nashville, and felt the specific, grounded weight of something real. Not the weightless euphoria of a dream. The actual, gravity-obeying weight of a thing that had happened in the real world and would continue to have consequences in the real world going forward. They sat in Whitfield's small office. Bookshelves, a desk, 2 chairs, a window overlooking the side yard where a bare dogwood tree stood against the pale sky. And Whitfield laid out the terms in plain language, without theater. It was an independent contract. 3 albums over 4 years. Modest advance. Enough to get Cole into a proper apartment. Enough to pay Patricia Oakes for the custody hearing. Enough to breathe. Revenue split that was fair by independent standards. Full creative control on songwriting. Whitfield's label, a small imprint called Clearwater Sound, would handle production, distribution, and booking support. "I won't make you famous," Whitfield said. "That's not what I do. What I do is build careers that last, slow and real. You'll play the Ryman in 3 weeks, and then you'll play every serious venue in the South over the next 18 months, and by the time the first album comes out, you'll have an audience that came to you because of the music, not because of a marketing campaign." "That's what I want," Cole said. "I know," Whitfield said. That's why we're having this conversation. Cole signed the contract at 3 o'clock. Solano witnessed it. Whitfield made a copy on a small office printer and handed it to Cole in a plain manila envelope. "Welcome to Clearwater," Whitfield said. "Thank you," Cole said. "For all of it." "Thank George Strait," Whitfield said. "I was the easy part." Danny was parked 2 blocks down, in a lot beside a coffee shop, reading a paperback novel about World War II that he'd been working through for 4 months. He looked up when Cole knocked on the passenger window. Cole held up the manila envelope. Danny looked at it, then at Cole's face. He reached over and unlocked the door. Cole got in. "Contract?" Danny said. "Contract," Cole said. Danny set the paperback on the dashboard. He looked out through the windshield at the street. The dogwood trees lining Fatherland, the brick buildings, the pale November sky over East Nashville. "Good," he said. Then he started the truck, and they drove. Cole called Patricia Oakes from the passenger seat on the drive back to Cookeville. "I have a signed independent recording contract with Clearwater Sound," he told her. "Documentation of a performance booking at the Ryman Auditorium on November 2nd. And I'm going to be moving into my own apartment in Nashville within the next 30 days. A brief pause on Patricia's end. "Send me the contract as soon as you can," she said. "This changes the picture significantly." "How significantly?" "Significantly enough that I'd want to reach out to Diane's attorney before the hearing and explore whether we can resolve this without going in front of a judge." Cole leaned his head back against the headrest. "Do that," he said. "Please." That night, Cole called Lily. She picked up on the second ring, which meant she'd been expecting him. She always let calls she wasn't expecting go to voicemail, a habit she'd developed at 13 and that Cole had privately decided was entirely reasonable. "Dad?" Her voice was careful, measuring his tone before committing to a register. "Hey, baby," he said. "I wanted to tell you something." A pause. "Good something or bad something?" "Good something. Really good." He heard the shift in her breathing, the small, almost imperceptible relaxation of a person who has been braced for impact and just learned the impact isn't coming. "Tell me," she said. He told her. He told her about the session, about the 5 songs, about the third take of Anyway, and Whitfield coming out of the control room with that expression on his face. He told her about the office and the chair and the plain manila envelope with the copy of the contract inside. He kept his voice steady and factual, the way he'd learned to tell her things, not performing emotion, just delivering it. When he finished, she was quiet for a moment. "Clearwater Sound," she said. "Is that a real label?" "Independent, but real. Very real. And the Ryman is the Ryman." "There's only one," he said, echoing the words she'd used about George Strait in Danny's backyard. She made a sound that was not quite a laugh and not quite a cry, and was very specifically and entirely Lily. "Dad?" she said after a moment. "Yeah? I knew it was going to happen." Her voice was quiet. "Not specifically. I didn't know it would be this or George Strait or Ray Whitfield or any of it. But I knew." She paused. "I always knew you were good enough. I just needed you to find out, too." Cole pressed his palm flat against the wall of Danny's spare room and looked at the ceiling. "I love you, Lily," he said. "I love you too, Dad." A pause. "Will you play Anyway for me this weekend?" "First person I'll play it for," he said. The call with Diane came 2 days later. Not through the attorneys. Diane called him directly, which was unusual enough that Cole felt a small, specific alertness when her name appeared on his screen. "I heard from my attorney," she said. Patricia Oakes reached out. "I know," Cole said. She sent over the contract documentation. A pause. "And the Ryman booking?" "Yes." Diane was quiet for a moment. Cole waited. "I want you to know something," she said. Her voice had lost its managed neutrality. Not dramatically, not with the kind of emotional collapse that makes for scenes, but in the particular small way of a person who has decided to stop performing and say the actual thing. The filing wasn't punitive. I want you to know that. I know, Cole said, and meant it, though it had not felt that way the morning he'd stood at Danny's mailbox. I was scared, she said. Lily was scared, and scared people do the most defensible version of the thing they're afraid of. She paused. That wasn't fair to you. Cole sat with that for a moment. I gave you reasons to be scared, he said. Real ones. I know that. You did, she said. Not unkindly. Simply, honestly. But you also... She stopped, started again. You also got up. Every time. You always got up. I think I forgot that for a while. There was a long silence between them. Not an uncomfortable one. The silence of two people who shared enough history to be able to sit in silence without it requiring management. I'm going to withdraw the modification filing, Diane said finally. My attorney will contact Patricia tomorrow. Cole closed his eyes briefly. Thank you, Diane. Don't thank me. Just, she seemed to choose her next words with care. Just be there. That's all Lily needs. Just keep being there. That's the one thing I know how to do, Cole said. I know, she said. And she hung up. The Ryman Auditorium on a Saturday night in November smelled like wood and history, and the particular electricity of a room that has absorbed, over its long life, enough music and feeling to have developed its own atmosphere. Something you didn't so much sense as absorb, through your skin and the soles of your feet, the moment you walked through the doors. Cole stood in the wings of the stage at 7:45, guitar case at his feet, watching the previous act. A young woman named Claire Sutton, 26, with a voice like clear water over stone, finish her set to warm, sustained applause. The Ryman was 2/3 full. Not a sold-out crowd, not the overwhelming wall of a major concert, but an audience of people who had chosen to be here on a specific evening for specific reasons, which was in some ways a more demanding crowd than a sold-out one. Jeff Calloway appeared at his elbow. You're up in 8 minutes, he said. Ready? Yes, Cole said. And it was the first time in a long time that the word came out without any private asterisk attached to it. He looked out at the stage, the warm amber light, the single microphone stand, the monitors along the front edge of the platform, and felt something he hadn't felt before a performance in years. Not calm, exactly. Something more active than calm. He felt ready. Lily was in the audience. 7th row, center, between Danny on her left, and, in a development that had required several days of careful negotiation and quiet courage from everyone involved, Diane on her right. Diane had called 3 days before the show and asked, with the particular careful directness she'd developed over the years, if it would be appropriate for her to attend. Cole had said yes without hesitation. Kevin the orthodontist was not present. Cole had not asked about this. Some things sorted themselves out at the right speed if you left them alone. He had seen them when he'd come out briefly during sound check. 3 familiar faces in the 7th row amid 100 unfamiliar ones. Danny had given him a single nod. Diane had lifted a hand in a small wave, brief and warm. Lily had looked at him with those eyes of hers and made the smallest possible gesture, a tap of 2 fingers against her chest, just once, quick and private. I'm here. He'd tapped 2 fingers against his own chest in return and gone back to the stage. He walked out at 7:53. The applause was polite and genuine. The sound of an audience that didn't yet know who he was, but was prepared to find out. He reached the microphone, adjusted it, and looked out at the room. The Ryman stretched back and up. The famous pews, the balcony, the stained glass windows dark now against the November night outside, lit from within by the warm amber wash of the stage lights. "Good evening," Cole said. His voice moved through the room with the ease of a space designed for exactly this, for the human voice, for the particular frequency of words that mean something. "My name is Cole Harrington. I'm from Lawrenceburg, Tennessee." He paused. "I've been trying to play this stage my whole life," he said. "And I want to tell you what got me here, because it matters." He shifted the guitar strap on his shoulder. "About 6 weeks ago, I played a benefit concert at a community center in Franklin County. I was not in a good place. I was..." He stopped, chose honesty over the softened version. "I was about as far down as a person can get without stopping entirely. And I played a song for a room of 300 people. And afterward, a man I deeply respected said 4 words to me that changed the direction of everything." He paused again. He said, "Don't waste it." The room was quiet. "Tonight," Cole said, "I'm trying to do exactly that." He hit the first chord of Still Here. The set ran 32 minutes. He played all 5 songs from the session, in order, the arc intact, each piece leading to the next, with the logic of a story being told. He played with the full commitment of someone who has nothing left to protect, and has discovered, somewhat to his surprise, that this is the best possible condition in which to play. Every song landed. Not perfectly. His voice cracked on the high note again in the second song, same place it always cracked, and he played through it the same way he always played through it, but with the specific, unambiguous authenticity that Whitfield had identified in the studio and that a room full of people can feel in their bodies before their minds have had time to process it. Anyway, was last. He played the introduction slowly, letting the guitar breathe, letting the room settle into the register of the song before the first word arrived. And then he sang it. The song about starting over in the real version, without the certainty, doing it anyway. And the Ryman received it the way it has received 10,000 songs over its long life. Completely, generously, with the ancient attentiveness of a room that was built to listen. When he finished, he sat for a moment in the aftermath, the guitar still resonating, the last chord fading up into the dark space above the stage. And in that moment, in the specific quality of the silence before the applause, he heard something. He heard the room, not the sound of it, the feeling of it, the particular sensation of 300 people listening with their whole attention, caught in the temporary suspension that good music creates between the last note and the first response. Then the applause came, real and full and sustained. Cole stood up from the stool, brought the guitar up once in a small, quiet gesture of acknowledgement, and said into the microphone, "Thank you, that's all I've got. I hope it was worth the seat." More applause, laughter in it, warm and genuine. He walked off the stage. In the wings, Jeff Calloway shook his hand. Pete Solano, who had come down from the control room to watch, gave him a single nod that contained a complete review. 2 of the other performers clapped him on the shoulder. And then Lily was there. He didn't know exactly how she'd gotten backstage. The Ryman had a guest pass system, and apparently Donna Kellerman's organizational precision extended to arenas considerably larger than the Harmony Hills Community Center. But she was there, in her black jacket and her boots, and she walked up to him and hugged him properly this time. Not the brief, careful hug of the driveway. The real one, both arms sustained. He held on. "Anyway," she said, into his jacket, "that's the best thing you've ever written." "Yeah?" he said. "Yeah." She pulled back and looked at him with those eyes. "The part in the second verse, the line about the oak tree and the dark, that one surprised me when I wrote it," he said. It surprised me when I heard it, she said. I think that's the same thing. Cole looked at his daughter, this 14-year-old person who had grown up watching everything fall apart and had somehow arrived at wisdom instead of cynicism, who had texted him "Good luck, Dad" with a guitar emoji on the night that changed everything, who had cried at "Still Here in April" and not told him because she didn't want him to feel bad, who had tapped 2 fingers against her chest from the 7th row of the Ryman to tell him she was there. "I want to get my own place," he told her. "In Nashville or Brentwood, somewhere close to Franklin. I want you to have a real room, not a pull-out couch." "I don't care about the pull-out couch," she said. "I care about the pull-out couch," he said. She almost smiled. "Uncle Danny's chili adjacent is actually pretty good. It's a pasta bake." "Don't tell him that." Cole laughed. The real laugh, the one that lived in the chest. Danny found them a few minutes later, emerging from the general direction of the backstage catering table with a paper plate of food and the expression of a man who has successfully located snacks in an unfamiliar environment and considers this a victory. And then Diane was there too, standing slightly apart, in the tactful way she did things now, giving them the space of the moment while remaining present at the edge of it. She was wearing a dark coat, and her hair was down. And she looked, Cole thought, like someone who had also been through something difficult, and had also, in her own way, arrived somewhere better. She caught his eye and nodded once. He nodded back. There was no word for what they were to each other now. Not a clean one, not one that fit in a sentence. They were the parents of Lily Harrington, which meant they were bound by something that had nothing to do with whether they were good for each other and everything to do with whether they were good for her. They were 2 people who had failed at the particular thing they'd tried together and were trying, with the specific determination of people who have run out of alternatives to honesty to be successful at the adjacent thing. It wasn't a love story. It was something more durable and considerably less simple than that. Backstage, between the catering table and the monitor rack, Ray Whitfield found Cole at 8:45. "Good set," Whitfield said, in the tone of a man who does not use the word good loosely. "Thank you," Cole said. "For the Ryman, for the contract, for all of it." "The contract is a business decision," Whitfield said. "It benefits both of us. Don't thank me for things that benefit me." He paused. "But yes, the Ryman was a leap of faith. Was it worth it?" Whitfield looked at him over his wire-rimmed glasses. "Third take of Anyway," he said. "In the studio. And tonight." He paused. "Yes, it was worth it." He extended his hand. Cole shook it. "Album production starts in January," Whitfield said. "We'll talk about the full plan before Christmas. Enjoy tonight." He walked away, compact and unhurried, disappearing into the backstage crowd. Cole walked out of the Ryman at 9:30 into the Nashville night. The air was cold and clear, carrying the particular smell of November in Tennessee. Wood smoke, fallen leaves, the distant bass note of the Cumberland River 3 blocks east. Broadway was audible from here. The low pulse of music from the honky-tonks, neon lights spilling across the sidewalk, the sound of the city doing what it has always done, indifferent to individual stories, continuous and alive. He stood on the sidewalk with his guitar case and let it all arrive. The night, the cold, the sound, the specific physical reality of having played the Ryman Auditorium and signed a contract and navigated a custody filing and written a song at 3 in the morning and driven to Nashville 17 times in 6 weeks and made the call and shown up again and again to the life that was still asking him to show up. None of it had been clean. None of it had been the version he would have chosen 10 years ago if someone had offered him a choice. He would have chosen the version where the label deal worked, where the marriage held, where he never had to learn what a mattress on a pull-out couch felt like from the perspective of the parent rather than the child. But that version had not been available. This one had. And here, on the sidewalk outside the Ryman on a cold November night, with his guitar and his contract and his daughter inside finishing a paper plate of backstage food, and his brother somewhere finding the truck, and his ex-wife moving carefully and honestly through the difficult geography of what came next, Cole Harrington understood something that Anyway had been trying to tell him since he'd written it at 5:45 in the morning in a kitchen in Cookville. The point was never the plan. The point was the showing up. The point was that when everything you had built fell down, and the thing you had counted on was gone, and the version of your life that you had imagined was clearly, permanently unavailable, the point was that you picked up the guitar and you went to the community center, and you played 3 songs for a room full of people who needed a food bank, and you played the third one like you meant it. And sometimes, not always, not reliably, not as a guarantee, but sometimes, that was enough to change the direction of everything. Don't waste it. He hadn't. He picked up the guitar case, settled it in his right hand, and walked back inside to find his daughter.